has committed. But Honorable Speaker was saying it is good and to push all our public accounts committees, whether it is those in charge of investments, those that are reviewing the accounts of our parastatals, or the public accounts committee itself that reviews government accounts, to ensure that they bring all their reports in a timely manner so that we are able to arrest the cancer of graft in our country on a timely basis, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we were just discussing earlier when the Honorable Tongoyo tabled his report or his interim statement on the fake abduction, as has been said, of the Honorable Koimburi. And we are just congratulating the police for their swiftness. I think the House then should learn from the police on the swiftness of acting at the right time. Because when people steal from public coffers, you allow time, people tend to forget. And you know, Honorable Speaker, Kenyans, we have a very short memory. Or we get excited by new things and forget the old. And that is why the corrupt in this country know that they can get away with anything. Because all you need is to buy time. Kenyans forget. That is why the COVID billionaires have been lavishing in luxury over the last 3-4 years, because they assume that Kenyans have forgotten, Honorable Speaker. Many of them used the stolen resources in the last elections. Some now are elected governors. Others are members of parliament. I do not know whether there is anyone of us here who was involved. The chair of the Public Investment Committee will be able to tell us when it was the report. But I was just saying that, Honorable Speaker, to encourage these committees, Honorable Angwe's committee, Honorable Amboka's MP. I know they are diligent, and I must indeed congratulate also the Honorable Amboka, because being a first-time member of parliament who is serving with zeal and diligence as a chair of a committee, I can see he's clearly following my footsteps, because I was a vice chair of the Public Investments Committee in my first term as a member of parliament, Honorable Speaker, and moved on to become a chair of a committee in my second term. Therefore, to encourage you to lead your committees and ensure that all these accounts are reviewed on a timely basis and you table reports before the House, because it's not enough to just review these accounts. The more important thing is to adopt reports, or rather bring reports to this House that we can adopt, and then follow up through our Committee of Implementation to ensure that all the recommendations like those ones that Honorable Angwe has put in this report, even on those on interest, the Committee on Implementation then follows up to ensure that all those recommendations are not in vain, because this House must not and must never act in vain. With that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support this report. Thank you.
Honorable Member for Turkana North, I'll come to you. I'll write it down.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to disclose that I'm a member of this committee. And first, I want to thank my chairman and the members of Parliament, including the Secretariat, that have taken their time to look at this report, to interrogate the clients and come up with the final report. Madam Speaker, I'll speak to, we realized this by the kind of A&Es that we looked at. And as a committee, we agreed with the auditors that we need to come up, the corporations, the boards. The boards needed to sit down and come up with strategies to see into it that revenues are increased so that these corporations can be able to make payments for their commitments, financial commitments, and also take care of the needs of the corporations. Madam Speaker, we also realized that in most of these corporations, there was delay in the appointments of the board of directors. Madam Speaker, you realize board of directors support management of these corporations. In the absence of these boards, Madam Speaker, you realize there will either be delay in implementation of certain activities, budgets are delayed in approvals, or payments are made and procedurally in the absence of these boards. Madam Speaker, we made a recommendation that we need to look at the State Corporation Act, and so that we can reduce time of appointment of these boards. Those involved in the appointment of the board of directors should look into it that these corporations have their boards appointed within time, so that it doesn't affect the management of these corporations. Madam Speaker, we also realized that some of the reports of the previous PICs were not implemented. And we've recommended that, Madam Speaker, the Committee on Implementation should be able to fast-track implementation of the reports of the previous PICs, so that some of the issues that were brought out by the auditors can be able to be corrected. Because a delay in implementation of those reports also delays a lot of issues that needs to be taken care of. Madam Speaker, we also noted that when the auditors, most of the times when auditors are auditing these corporations, a lot of documents were not availed. And in the process, auditors were not able to confirm areas of irregularities. Madam Speaker, audit is a process. And that being a process, there's a lot of time given to these state corporations to provide evidence of what auditors will require. And so you recommended that accounting officers, whether director generals of these corporations, should be able to provide documents within time, because in most of the reports, the state financial reports we got, the documents that were delayed during audit time were provided years later, and so auditors were not able to verify and confirm the inquiries that they wanted to pick. Madam Speaker, my colleagues have talked of the delay in accounting of interest. This also was across the board in all the 5 corporations we looked at their financial statements. As stated by colleagues, it is incumbent upon staff and employees of this corporation to follow the laid down regulations that when you pick interest, you should be able to account for it immediately after the 7 days of return. So, and we have recommended that the accounting officers, whether still in those corporations or out of the corporation, are reprimanded for those delayed interest accountability. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, now the last thing is, which I also picked, Madam Speaker, is most of these corporations have many cases in court, and these cases have taken so long to be concluded, and this has delayed a number of decisions that needed to be taken care of by this corporation. We have recommended that the accounting officers put together the list of court cases that are delayed and have them brought before our committee so that we can be able to inform this House and also engage the Attorney General to have these cases fast-tracked. Madam Speaker, most of these corporations didn't have risk management policies and even internal audit structures. We've also recommended that these structures are put in place so that some of the issues that came out should be able to be minimized within these corporations. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, I will request that when this House adopts this report, the Committee on Implementation should be able to move very fast to have these reports implemented so that we could be able to minimize the inquiries that have come out from the audit and financial statements that appear within the audit committees. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
Thank you, and I was requesting maybe if we can each have 5 minutes, because I see there are many people who have an interest in this. So now I'll give it to the member for Central Limeti, Honorable Moses Kirima. Okay, he's not in the House. Next we have Honorable Geoffrey Mwangi, member for Tetu.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to also rise and support, especially the report from the chairperson of the Public Investments Committee on Social Services, Administration and Agriculture. Madam Speaker, I was a member of this committee until I was surprisingly de-whipped after I refused to support some impeachment motion that came to this House. But that's not the reason I've stood, Madam Speaker. I have stood to support because I was part of this process. And Madam Speaker, one of the things that we encountered when we were doing a lot of these audits, or one of the things that we noted, was mainly the refusal, the delay, or even the manipulation of the necessary audit documents by some of these state corporations. Madam Speaker, I would like to...
Point of order here.
Yeah, I've just realized that our digital system, the televisions are not working very well. So I'm worried, is the Hansard on? Is it just affecting the screens, or it's affecting, including the voice? And as you know, it's mandatory. The Hansard has to run. So if we got confirmation from the people concerned,
yes,
does it only affect the member of Tetu because of his past participation, and particularly, Honourable Speaker, for the motion he mentioned? Could we get clarification?
Yes, I can clarify that even when the substantive speaker was on the chair earlier, we already had some problems, and he informed me, but they had already notified the ICT team. So the ICT team are trying to work on it. But I think what happens is, as long as the voice, the sound is there, we'll be able to have the Hansard. I think it's the screens that are having a challenge because the mics are working. Yes, so we may proceed. Yeah. No, we had a problem.
Madam Speaker, unfortunately now, Kenyans will not see me talk, but and especially Tetu people who love me dearly. But that as it may, allow me to proceed and thank you, Honorable Mboka, for the timely intervention, and especially trying to confirm if this is sabotage.
Actually, I'm informed that it's the display of the screens in the House, but it doesn't mean the feed is not reaching our servers. So you can still retrieve it from the Hansard section.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is comforting. Madam Speaker, to go to the substantive issues I would like to raise, you realize that a lot of our state corporations, despite this House allocating them money year in, money year out, these have become dens of corruption, mismanagement, pilferage and plunder of national resources. Madam Speaker, my 2 or so years in this committee, I was shocked just to learn the level of rot in some of our state organizations. And the level at which they go to somehow conceal some of these very, very glaring issues. And Madam Speaker, it is important that this House over time, and I still need to familiarize myself with the legislation in terms of what happens after these reports are tabled, because to the best of my knowledge, I have not seen anybody arrested, prosecuted, and maybe convicted out of some of the reports that we raised in this House. Yet, Madam Speaker, in some of the instances, we saw open and glaring conflicts of interest. We saw open and glaring, misdeeds that, Madam Speaker, should actually be just placed in front of the CID and arrest is made.
What is your point of order?
I just want to inform the Honorable Member for Tetu, who is a very good friend of mine, that the reports of this House are not in vain. The recommendations of committees are not in vain. And I want to confirm to him that in one of the recommendations of the committee that I chair, that we referred the matters of Moi University to EACC. And I want to confirm to him that indeed the CEO, the Vice Chancellor, was arrested and is charged in court. So this House is not in vain, the Honorable Member for Tetu. And allow me also, maybe sometime later, to induct him properly, now that I'm a ranking member of this House, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. And remember, the committees are at liberty to recommend prosecution.
Mr. Speaker,
even recommend that the person cannot hold public office.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I think you need to protect me from
I think I'll let
the
you
continuous point of order.
Now.
And I know my friend Dr. Udo would like to further make input. But Madam Speaker, it's good that Honorable Boka is giving me words of comfort. But Madam Speaker, of course, we would like to see more. We would want these reports to constitute the basis of serious points of prosecution. Just like the majority leader here has said, that up to today, some of the COVID billionaires are walking scot-free, and some of them were covered in some of these audits. But there is one specific one I would like to raise, Madam Speaker, about the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. When we did the audits for all these years that are listed here, nearly 13 years, because the audit was that much behind. Madam Speaker, we saw some very interesting dealings between the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation and an organization called GoTV Africa, and another one called Marty Choice. And Madam Speaker, what was surprising, and I remember the chairman of the, recently when there was a vetting of principal secretaries, I remember the chairman, raising some of these issues, that one of the people who we fingered out for conflict of interest is now the principal secretary in charge of the same information and broadcasting division. Sure. And Madam Speaker, it shows that some of these reports may not necessarily see the proper light of day, because the people we are hoping to implement some of these things are the same people who are mentioned in some of these reports. And Madam Speaker, some of us try to raise and say that even if this man had to become a PS, and we had no issue with him becoming a PS, he could have become a PS for gender, for agriculture, or a committee that is a little bit far away from matters KBC. So Madam Speaker, I rise to support, and I like the comfort my chairman here is giving me, that indeed we will see prosecutions. And I think those are some of the prosecutions we should start with. The people who stole money from KBC, the people who manipulated the shareholding of KBC, in GoTV and MultiChoice, the people who plundered KEMSA, and they are still working scot-free. Madam Speaker, these are the things that we want to see happening, because this House has to regain its place as a custodian.
Auditor General, kuhusiana na cooperation states za serikali, Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nataka niseme hivi. Ni dhahiri shahiri ukiangalia ripoti hii kuwa mambo mengi ama pesa nyingi za taifa zinapotea kwa sababu ya kuzembea kwa wale ambao wanahusika katika hizi states tofauti, Mheshimiwa Spika. Naangalia hata ukiangalia mashamba, kwa mfano KBC, KEMSA na wengine wengi, mashamba ambayo wanafaa kujenga ama kuendeleza miradi tofauti ya serikali hayana hata title deed, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na nikitoa ushahidi dhahiri ni kuwa hata Mombasa kuna wakati tulitembea katika idara ya maji, tukapata kuwa wanashamba wanasema shule pengine ile ya Nyali primary imechukua shamba yao, lakini wakiulizwa title deed, Mheshimiwa Spika, hawana. Na wale wenye shule wana title deed. Sasa unajiuliza, serikali ndio ilienda kwa watu na haina title deed, ama watu walipataje title deed wakati serikali haina, Mheshimiwa Spika? Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi ningeomba hivi, KEMSA wote pia wako katika hiyo category. Wana mashamba wanasema ni yao lakini title deed hakuna. Kenyatta Hospital wana mashamba wanasema ni yao ambao ni ya serikali lakini title deed hakuna. Ikiwa tunaweza kuchukua hizi title deeds zote, ikawa wizara ya fedha ndio inaweza kushughulikia hizi title deeds ili wapate title deeds ambazo ni za serikali katika wizara moja, itakuwa imesaidia serikali, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na hata hii ndio inasababisha, Mheshimiwa Spika, kama ukanda wa Pwani sisi tuna matatizo sana ya mashamba. Watu wamekaa miaka zaidi ya 100, lakini unapata wanakuja wanavunjiwa nyumba zao, wanaambiwa shamba hili ni la wizara fulani, shamba hili ni la sehemu fulani, wakati ambapo wao wenyewe wamekaa miaka yote wako pale. Na ndio maana niweze kumpongeza rais kwa kuweza kutuwekea 1.5 billion ya kuweza kufidia mashamba ya wale ambao hawana title deed na wamekaa miaka mingi pale waweze kupata zile title deed. Hii itatoa ile sintofahamu ambayo imekuwako baina ya wananchi pengine na serikali, ama hata na wale wezi wa mashamba ambaye anakuja hapa Ardhi House, anaangalia sehemu fulani haina title deed, anaongaongana humo ndani, anachukua hiyo hati miliki, anakuja kuvunjia watu. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, naangalia ripoti hii, pesa nyingi sana zinafujwa na hata accountant anakuwa mzito wa kutoa zile records kwa sababu anajua kuna kitu fulani kimefanyika. Mheshimiwa Spika, itakuwa kila wakati pengine Wakenya wanamlaumu rais, wanalaumu viongozi wa juu, kumbe huku ndani chini kuna watu ambao wanafanya makatafunwa yao. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa mfano mdogo tunaangalia bado NHIF iko inadaiwa na Kenyatta Hospital. Unashindwa hii hata iliweza kusongezwa ikaingia kwenye SHA. Mheshimiwa Spika, juzi rais ametuelezea wazi kitu kama idara kama NSSF miaka ya nyuma ilikuwa katika miaka 50 wamekusanya only 300 and something billion, lakini alipokuja akaweka mikakati mzuri ikawa Wakenya wanalipa 600 katika NSSF. Mara hii Kenya wamekusanya maradufu, na akatuambia kuwa hizi hazina ambazo tunajiwekea sisi wenyewe zitakuja kusaidia, badala ya kwenda kukopa China pesa, kukopa nchi zingine pesa, tuanze kuweka vitu vyetu bandari sijui nini, itakuwa tunajikopa sisi wenyewe na tunajilipa. Mheshimiwa Spika, ambayo mimi naweza kumpongeza rais kwa juhudi zake, lakini wale wanaohusika kule chini mimi nawaomba wawache wizi ili wasiweze kuharibia taifa hili jina. Mwisho, Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa niaba ya Wakenya naomba Mheshimiwa Rais Samia Suluhu msamaha. Watoto wetu wamekosea, nyinyi ni majirani zetu, tunaomba msamaha na tutakaa tukikaa kwa wema na kupendana kama taifa. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
The only the member for Kilome. Member for Kilome. Order, Honorable Zamzam. Honorable Zam.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Proceed, member for Kalome. Order, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
For Kilome, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I raised to support this report.
Order, Honorable Zamzam. No, Honorable, you can say that formally.
I seek protection, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this report. Honorable Speaker,
Having been in PIC, Education and Governance, we have really interrogated these reports, and I can assure you that these committees are doing a marvelous job when it comes to safeguarding public resources. Honorable Speaker, I attest, having been in a public investment committee in education and governance, the same as in social services, we need, as members of this House, we need to get into details into our institutions so that we can safeguard public money. Honorable Speaker, when it comes to issue of accounting for this money, which, of course, we have been pushing for the Treasury to release money to these institutions. So at the same time, we need to see proper accountability of the same funds. Honorable Speaker, I urge this committee under the chair, Wangwe, to make sure that they move with speed, because I've realized that most of the institutions have been audited, but as members of parliament, oversight committees have not been able to make proper utilization of the report from the Auditor General. So, Honorable Speaker, protect me, Honorable Speaker. There's a lot of noise coming from my...
Honorable Sansan, please stop the Kamukunji.
Please, give us time.
Do it outside. Yeah, we listen to you quietly, so I think give your colleague an opportunity.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for protecting my contribution. Honorable Speaker, as I stand here, we have so much money going to waste, and it is only this House, after you get the report from the Auditor General, who can pursue, interrogate, scrutinize every coin to see proper use of public funds. Honorable Speaker, because I'm here to contribute to my committee, in Public Investment Committee, I can give my honorable colleagues time to contribute on this matter, because I'm here to contribute on the other side of the PIC in the education and governance. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, thank you. The Honorable Member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me also rise.
Member for Turkana, if you just remove your card so that you don't confuse me. And the Honorable Member, yes, I think that's the one person who has spoken already. Proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Let me also take this opportunity to congratulate and sincerely thank the committee to have taken effort to review long outstanding and past audit reports. Honorable Speaker, I don't want to dwell on specific issues. Allow me to dwell on some basic issues, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 has very clear provisions on when specific audit reports ought to be debated. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to bring to the attention of the House, I think it's Article 226. Article 226, Honorable Speaker, and I want to seek your indulgence, Honorable Speaker, that we take this matter very, very seriously. Article 229, specifically of the Constitution of Kenya, requires that the audits must be completed within 6 months, tabled and debated in Parliament within 3 months. Honorable Speaker, we know there has been a backlog, and that backlog, Honorable Speaker, is a matter that requires to be addressed. But we must address this matter, Honorable Speaker, in light of the ruling in the High Court case number HCJR/E082/2023 that invalidated the findings of the Committee of the Account Assembly of Nairobi in view of the recommendations. I therefore want to urge the House Business Committee, I want to urge the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly, I want to urge Parliamentary Service Commission, for the work of the committees, all the watchdog and oversight committees, to have any legal effect, to have any constitutional effect, we must comply with the provisions of the Constitution that says the audit reports must be debated and approved by Parliament within 3 months after tabling by the Office of the Auditor General. The Office of the Auditor General, in the old Audit Act, even in the Constitution, is required to review and table the report 6 months after the end of the financial year. The financial year ends on 30th June of any given any year. So it means by December, the Office of the Auditor General must have reviewed and submitted the reports to the Parliament by then. In the past, they complained there was non-compliance, there was failure to supply documents, they would go to the entities, SAGAS or MDS, they say they are not ready, or they give reports that fell late. With the amendments we did to Audit Act, actually condense the period, so we give the Audit Office of the Auditor General enough time to review and prepare and submit the reports. I therefore want to urge, let me repeat again, that the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly, Parliamentary Service Commission, and all the relevant organs of this House must put into place measures, must facilitate, adequately fund, and provide adequate facilitation to the Oversight and Watchdog Committees, that's Public Accounts Committee, the various PICs, Special Funds Committee, and all those committees, that they complete the audit process and table their reports, preferably not beyond May of the subsequent years. Otherwise, Honorable Speaker, all this talking we are making here, all these reports will just become for record purposes, academic purposes. And I only honestly sympathize. Financial year of 2018-2019 being presented today, even if you made a recommendation, how do you enforce that recommendation? Because whoever was in charge is either dead, has retired, is suffering in the villages, all his sugarcane has been now been released without his authority, he cannot be of no value to this country. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Thank you. The Honorable Member, Honorable Kihungi. Give him the mic. He had requested he didn't have a mic.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I start to speak on the audit report for the Committee of PIC. Madam Speaker, one thing I want to say is that, as the one member has put it, the most important thing is timeline. And one thing I have noticed is that the Office of the Auditor General is coming out clearly as an office that is stamping its authority in the institutions. Some of the works they are doing is clearly seen that this office is really working. But as a parliament, we are its backbone, because whenever these reports they do, first of all, they take too long before they are discussed by the committee. Secondly, there is no action. I remember there was this one report by the committee, which arrested one of our members for, I think, 70-something years. It made it very serious in respect to the National Assembly to know how it can execute on issues to fight against corruption. Madam Speaker, we wish to support the report, but we wish to call upon the committees to understand that the Office of Auditor General, even whenever they realize that the Parliament is not acting on their report, well, even if they become serious, even if they become aggressive, even if they become, they start against corruption, but realize whenever that report comes to Parliament, there will be no action. We will demoralize the institution, and the country is the one that will suffer. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I wish to support the report, and I call upon the oversight committees also to take their position clearly. Let be seen working. Because whenever reports come here, they are clean, but the news that are going around the papers from the Auditor General, they are glaring corruption going on. It will be seen somehow Parliament is compromised. But one big issue is timeline. Because you find a committee is auditing maybe reports of 2017. Therefore, that report has no essence, because what we should do is to make sure we work with backlog and make sure we are dealing with the day-to-day issue. And that's where the impact of Parliament will be felt. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Boyben, Honourable Phyllis Barto.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also voice my concerns in as far as these audit reports are concerned. Madam Speaker, one particular one is on the issue of land for KEMSA and KBC. An example is a case where KEMSA doesn't have titles for 32 parcels of land, and likewise to KBC, where even one of the pieces of land is still in the name of the colonial government, for that matter. Madam Speaker, that's a very serious concern, given that we have people in Kenya who have appetite for land, and that is a very fertile ground for land grabbers. So, Madam Speaker, that is a very serious concern, and it's not just those state corporations which have been mentioned. It is a symptom. It affects the entire society in Kenya. Even our institutions of higher learning or even schools. We still have schools in Kenya, Madam Speaker, who are in operation for many years, but they don't have a title. And that's why sometimes they cannot develop, or it becomes problematic for them to get to be allocated finances because they don't have. Madam Speaker, the issue of documentation. It is very embarrassing that we have state officers, we have civil servants in Kenya drawing from the national cake, and they are sitting pretty in offices, and they are not able to submit documents for auditing. Madam Speaker, that is very shameful, and it's interesting that they are still serving in those offices. What are they doing? They are earning taxpayers' money, and they are not able to perform their duties. Madam Speaker, that is very shameful. And such officers, Madam Speaker, should be sent on compulsory leave until they comply. Otherwise, what are they doing in offices? And that is why we find ourselves in situations where institutions collapse. A case in point is Moi University. Moi University is a big institution which has churned so many graduates, so many prominent men and women in Kenya. But the other day, it is going to the drain. It has to retrench 800 employees who have served that institution for many years diligently. And now they have been told to just pack and leave, to go where without payment, without anything. It is because of such situations that institutions don't do proper accounts, so that governments are not informed. I mean, the government is not informed of the real situation, the real position, so that one time when it just closes doors, we sit back and ask ourselves, what exactly happened? It is because of people who sit in these offices and they refuse to do to follow due process, or refuse to do due diligence in their various responsibilities. The report also indicates that most of these institutions have weak governance. So does it mean that we are having people who are serving in these offices who are incompetent? How do they find themselves there? And yet, we have Kenyans who are very qualified. We have Kenyans who have been trained, and they are very competent. Why can't they step down and allow those people who are able, those people who are competent, to run those corporations? Madam Speaker, it is very embarrassing. And when I looked at the audit reports, some are dated. I mean, why should it be? I mean, if this is what is happening. I mean, if this happened some time back, I'm even worried that this is 2025. Exactly what is going on at this point? Things must be going AY. Madam Speaker, I think we have to get serious, and we have to task the people we put in the, we give.
You can give her a minute, just finish her sentence.
Sorry. We have to get serious in the people we give them responsibilities to run our institutions and get the right people and task them. Otherwise, we will be going back and forth forever, and that is what brings development down. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Githunguri, Honourable Wamushomba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this report from the committee that oversights these organizations listed here: the Kenya National Hospital, the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, the Kenya Veterinary Board, and the National Authority of the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse. Madam Speaker, it's very disappointing that today, being May 2025, we are discussing reports of 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. It's very unfortunate because if there is anybody who wanted to go away or run away with an offense that may have been picked from this report, there's nothing much that can be done to salvage public money. So issues that have been raised here by the member for Funyula, matters timelines, matters deadlines. I think these are critical issues if really we want to be the house that oversights these institutions. Madam Speaker, as we talk about 2017, 2018, on matters finances, I am more concerned about impact of this institution on the Kenyan voters. Madam Speaker, I come from Kiambu County, and I'm sure you know, even in your county, Madam Speaker, Uasin Gishu, we have a very serious problem on alcoholism. We have a very serious problem of drug abuse, a serious problem of suicide, dropouts, teenage pregnancies, crime, all emanating from issues of drug addiction. Madam Speaker, if we are seated here today discussing reports of 2018, 2019, yet we are struggling with a serious drug abuse of the current year, when will the issue of this current year be discussed in this house? If this is the trend, it means the issues of this current year will be discussed in 2030. And this is very serious. Why are we elected? We are elected to deal with matters of the day, rescue the generation of the day, provide interventions and solutions for the matters of the day. So if we cannot be discussing why our young people are indulging in drugs now, reports that I would be excited to discuss in this house with a lot of energy and vigor are the reports of how Nakada is sorting out the drug menace in Kiandutu slums of Thika in Kiambu County. How Nakada is sorting out the issues of proliferation of cannabis. Madam Speaker, right now, if you look at the reports that we are consuming from the Kenyatta National Hospital and Ministry of Health, it is shocking that in every 11 young boys and girls in Kenya, between 15 and 24 years, 1 in every 11 of them are consuming drugs. Not just drugs, they are consuming cannabis. They are committing suicide. They are dropping out of school. So when we come here and discuss finances of 2018, 2019, yet the boys and girls are dropping out of school and committing suicide, what are we doing in this house? So, Madam Speaker, I am very concerned that this is the trend, and it is us in this house that must change this trend. Let us be discussing matters that concerns our people's livelihood in the current parliament. Why are we carrying forward businesses that were supposed to be conducted in this house back in 2017? Madam Speaker, I served in this parliament in 2017, 2018. The same story I'm speaking today of my young sons and daughters indulging in drugs are still happening in my county. What is NACADA doing? Are we perennially going to be funding them and we are still crying and whining over the same problems that we've been going through? So, Madam Speaker, in as much as I rise to support this report, I want to throw a challenge into this House. We must be the face and the voice of doing good, not only for ourselves, but for the people we represent. So as we speak right now, I'll be very, very much interested to throw a challenge to NACADA to tell us, now that 632 young men in this country are confirmed to be addicts of cannabis, what are they doing? Are we going to continue like this forever? Madam Speaker, I submit. Thank you.
We'll now close. We'll finish with the Honorable Member for Kigumo or the Honorable Member for, I think, also Marsabit. Just those two, then we can close. So
thank you very much.
Make sure the chairman is here.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I start to rise and support this report by PIC. And I think the issue of timelines cannot be overemphasized. I've had my colleague talk about NACADA, whose reports we are discussing from 2017 and 2018. And we have also reports from Kenya Broadcasting Corporation from the year 2000, 2001. And it is shocking that we can be debating reports that are 26 years old. I am sure there are people who are born and they are in this parliament and they are younger than the reports that we are discussing. So we cannot continue on the same path. And I think it's prudent on us to start debating current matters so that if there are issues that are arising, we are able to tackle them. The issue of NACADA cannot be overemphasized. This is the only body that we've entrusted with looking after our young children, and we come from counties that are affected by all manner of drugs, from alcohol, from mogoka, from miraa, and I think we need to be asking them to be responsible, to be answerable to this House, because we are people's representatives. And we can't be observing every time we are losing our young ones, because the bodies entrusted with this work are not effective. So, as much as we are supporting the reports, is it possible to start debating current reports and maybe give leeway to the reports that have not come to this House and we debate them in future so that we catch up? Or is there a way that our Public Investments Committee can be able to fast-track them? It is our song that we sing every year when the reports come and we are adopting reports. We will complain about the timelines. We will complain about the time it's taken to have the reports looked at. And I know next year we'll still be doing the same. So maybe it's the chance that we have as a 13th Parliament to make sure that all the audited reports that are here, if not current, are maybe 2-3 years old. I want to finish by saying that as much as the reports come to the House, there are issues that are still being raised out there. And I don't know, is it that we are not able to publicly or publicize what we do in this House? Because every time you look at the papers and the Auditor General's report, as much as you say that we've looked at numbers, we've looked at figures, and they are good, we will still find that weird cases of corruption being reported. So it's also on us as a House to make sure that the reports we adopt are publicized and they reflect the true reality of the bodies that we are looking at. So I submit and I support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And the Honourable Member for Marsabit, Honourable Naomi Wako.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to this report that has been tabled. And from the onset, I want to say that I support the report and also congratulate the committee for giving us such a detailed report that can guide this House. Honorable Speaker, having gone through the report, there are things that we cannot allow to continue in this country. Number one, a report that has details of things that has happened for the last 26 years is not something that we should be excited about, because we've had different parliament. 12th parliament was there, 11th parliament was there, 10th parliament was there, and the reports would have been presented and tabled and issues that are of concerns would have been dealt with. But unfortunately today we are seated here talking of reports of about 26 years and revealing different gaps that are there and the challenges that we are going through as a country. Honorable Speaker, we should be concerned of this and also come up with the way forward so that even as we continue working on this report and seeing how best we can handle measures, serious measures to control the bad practice that is there should be put in place so that we can be able to have controls of finances and also encourage the different institutions to be more effective. Honorable Speaker, one of the observations that the committee made is lack of ownership of documents on land and buildings. When the land does not belong to this institution, when the building does not belong, then you are sure of poor management, lack of commitment, and poor work performance. Honorable Speaker, we are Kenyans and we know how land issue is emotive. And the fact that these institutions have challenges with that because it clearly says the committee observed and noted with concern that Kenyatta National Hospital, Kenyatta Medical Supplies Authority, KEMSA, and Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, KBC, did not possess title documents for the land and buildings in their occupation. This is a big failure, and something needs to be done, and a serious attention needs to be given to this so that at least we can be sure of the ownership. Honorable Speaker, again, the report says that for various parcels of land, some were illegally and procedurally carved out and registered in the name of private developer. This should be a matter of concern to all of us. How can we say that Kenyatta National Hospital is registered under the name of private developer? The corruption that we have been talking about since independence seems to be very real and coming out, because when we talk of corruption, it is not only cash, it is not only money-based corruption, but the issue of land and other things is also included. In this matter, I think this House should be getting concerned of what is happening. Again, Honorable Speaker, the other serious concern that the committee has observed is delay in availing documents to the Auditor General. I think these institutions is where serious corruption is taking place. How can they delay in giving their documents to the Auditor General for the audit? The committee observed that some accounting officers did not avail complete and reconciled financial and accounting records. This is very serious. Why should we have the officers who are unable to avail reports on time? Again, Honorable Speaker, my time is almost up. Poor governance and weak internal controls. It seems as if they have serious control problems, and internal controls is not in place, and they so that I can finish. Yeah, thank you. There is a serious plan in coordination of poor performance, corruption, and everything. How can they not have internal controls in terms of accounting? And how can they have, how can they not have board directors in place? I know that can be even beyond them, but Honorable Speaker, serious issues have been brought out. Our young people are suffering. We cannot continue this way. And I say that I support the report, but we must take serious action so that we can salvage the situation. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The chairperson is not here, so we shall have him to reply at the next session, so we can proceed with our next order.
Order number 10, motion, report on consideration of the audited accounts of state corporations for Central Region.
Yes, Honorable Wanami, proceed, Chairperson.
I don't know why they are sabotaging me.
Oh, you don't have a Chairperson Public Investment.
Thank you,
Committee on
Honorable
Governance
Speaker.
and Education.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that this House adopts the third report of the Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education on the examination of the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the state corporations and the Central Region for the financial years 2018-19, 2019-20, and 2020-21, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, December 6th, 2023. Honorable Speaker, in this report, the committee handled the following agencies: Nyandarua National Polytechnic, Gitanga Technical and Vocational College, Madenge Technical Training Institute, Tetu Technical and Vocational College, Madhyoya Technical and Vocational College, Mukrueini Technical Training Institute, Kieni Technical and Vocational College, Runyenjes Technical and Vocational College, Kamukunji Technical and Vocational College, PC Kinyanjui Technical and Training Institute, Thika Technical Training Institute, Ngong Technical and Vocational College, Multimedia University, Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology, Gatundu South Technical and Vocational College, Kipipiri Technical and Vocational College, Michuki Technical Training Institute, and Kenyatta University. Honorable Speaker, just trying to go to the relevant information only, Honorable Speaker. The committee proposes policy recommendations aimed at addressing financial and audit challenges, and at the same time recommends specific actions against officers who may have acted contrary to the law. It further recommends additional investigation of certain matters by the relevant investigative agencies, such as the EACC, the DCI, directed by the forensic audits by the Office of the Auditor General. Honorable Speaker, these observations and recommendations, if considered and implemented, will enhance accountability, effectiveness, transparency, efficiency, prudent management, commercial viability, and value for money in state corporations, and the public investments made in governance and education. Honorable Speaker, the committee places responsibility on the Office of the Auditor General for the quality of the audit reports tabled in the House. It has come to the committee's attention that pertinent matters that should have been highlighted in the reports were not raised by the Auditor General. During site visits, the committee has frequently encountered concerns related to construction projects and their implementation and management. Kenyatta University, for instance, had 4 stalled projects at the foundation level worth 616 million, 427,834. The committee could not, however, not ascertain whether the institution obtained value for money for the funds so far spent. The committee noted that the above issues had not been raised in the Auditor General's report. As a result, the committee requested for a special audit to be conducted by the Auditor General on this matter. The committee also noted that various officers had been serving in an acting capacity beyond the stipulated timelines beyond the stipulated timelines. If I may expound on the issue of Kenyatta University a bit.
Let's allow him to finish moving it first.
And I'm sure I don't want to spoil my soup. Honorable Speaker, if I were to talk about the issue of Kenyatta University, you realize that they have spent a whopping 600 million. And you can hardly see anything beyond the foundation level. And in fact, when we went, we were asking, where is the project? The Vice Chancellor was just saying, here. And you cannot see anything. And they have spent 600 million. Yeah, and you know, it becomes sad that the Auditor General did not capture this. So when we engage the Office of the Auditor General, Honorable Speaker, the Auditor General is not sufficiently funded. We want to implore on this House, especially now during the budget-making process, that may we sufficiently fund the office of these oversight offices, you know, the Auditor General, the budget, what is her name? Madam, what's her name? The Controller of Budget. They're doing a very good job, Honorable Speaker. And they will not function, we will not get proper value for money if they are not properly resourced. And having dealt with them, I can also confirm that they are indeed made of steel and they are doing their work to oversight government. On governance and administration structures, the committee observes a peculiar governance and management situation at the Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology, KIST. It was observed that KIST operates under the management of two distinct boards, namely the Board of Trustees and the Board of Governors. The TVETS Act of 2013 vests the responsibility for managing all TVETS institutions in Board of Governors. Of particular concern is the situation regarding the Institute's land ownership. The Board of Trustees held 200 acres of land in trust for the institution. However, following the enactment of TVET Act 2013, it is required that all the property of the institute be transferred in the name of KIST and be managed by the Board of Governors. The Board of Trustees has, however, relinquished only 70 acres of land to the Board of Governors, remaining with 130 acres. The committee further notes with concern that the registered Board of Trustees obtained a loan totaling to 158 million for its sole use. The loan was secured by a fixed and floating debenture on all the assets of KISS. This is a very sad scenario, Honorable Speaker, that we have an institution that was started by well-wishers, old men and women of goodwill from Kiambu County. They came together through donations, through Harambes, the Njenga Karumes, the Kenyattas. They decided that this area of ours needs an institution of learning. Then they vested the mandate to run this institution in a Board of Trustees. Then, now we have a new set of Board of Trustees who have taken over the institution against the law with the enactment of 2013 TVETS Act, Honorable Speaker. These trustees have refused to surrender the land property belonging to KIST to the Board of Governors. Shockingly, they even trade on these properties. They have gone to the banks, cooperative bank to be specific, and borrowed a lot of money, Honorable Speaker, on the name of the properties of KIST. And they think they own this country. When we went there with the committee, Honorable Speaker, the first thing we were advised that beef up your security because you will not land. Many committees have tried and they have not landed. Honorable Speaker, We went, we threw, actually they're just criminals participating in criminal enterprise. We threw them out. I hear they found their way back. I want to implore on this house to be firm, specifically on the issue of Kiambu Institute, KIST. That these people who purport to be trustees, and are not the original trustees of this land and of this property, that they must be shown the door yesterday. Upon adoption of this report, we will be making a specific advisory to Ministry of Education and Ministry of Interior that these crooks must be dealt. They must be behind bars. Honorable Speaker, these are the people who need to be in jail, not the other people that we are discussing in this house. The committee recommends that the Board of Trustees be declared persona non grata. They should henceforth cease to interfere in the matters of the Institute. The committee further recommends that the Board of Governors take the necessary steps to ensure that the property of the Institute is vested in the name of Kiambu Institute of Science and Technology as provided for in the TVETs Act 2013. Further, the governance structure of the Institute be restructured in accordance with the provision outlined in the TVET Act of 2013 so as to have the government interest represented by the Board of Governors, Cabinet Secretaries for the National Treasury, and Ministry of Education. Understaffing in the TVET institutions. The committee observed that the technical and vocational colleges are facing an acute shortage of both teaching and non-teaching staff. The ideal trainer-to-trainee ratio as recommended by the World Bank is 1 to 25, while the Ministry of Education recommends a ratio of 1 to 30. Unfortunately, in certain instances, the ratio in some courses has reached as high as 1 to 130. Then that beckons the question of what kind of students that are coming out of these institutions, Honorable Speaker. This house must be firm. We must resource the Ministry of Education, and we must be firm to Treasury. Then they used to operate under the funding model called DUC, and hardly did they even ever reach 50% of their bargain of what they were to send to these institutions. This house must be firm. This situation significantly impacts the quality of education and training offered to students. The committee also noted an inequitable allocation of resources in TVETs, with some regions having well-equipped institutions while others have dire situations with limited to deteriorating facilities. Honorable Speaker, we want this house to be firm on the rules of equity and natural justice, that every region must share to the national cake. It is sad, Honorable Speaker, that some areas, some regions in this country have as many TVET institutions and these institutions of higher learning more than some other regions. When you go to an area like Turkana, for instance, there is a Turkana University. You cannot compare. It doesn't look like a university. It's a university on paper. So we are asking this house to prioritize when it comes to allocation of resources to this institution, that let us be fair. Let us observe equity. Let every region feel part and parcel of this country, and so that the students that come out of these institutions must be properly prepared for the job market. The committee recommends suspending the establishment of new technical and vocational educational and training TVET institutions until existing ones are upgraded to meet the requisite standards. This will ensure that the quality of education and training is enhanced, contributing to workforce and improvement of national competitiveness, prioritizing resource consolidation and educational optimization. The committee recommends targeting neglected regions and prioritizing the TVET sector in resource allocation to address underfunding and improve infrastructure. Adequate funding would attract and retain high qualified instructors, thereby enhancing the quality of education. Honorable Speaker, poor accounting standards and general incapacity of some accounting officers. The committee found that due to previous lack of exposure to the audit process, culminating in parliamentary review, some accounting officers were ignorant or non-compliant with the various provisions of the PFM Act of 2012 and Public Audit Act of 2015. Audit queries spanning as far back as year 2018-19 remained unresponded to by some agencies who were only jolted to actions once invited by the committee. Most severe was Madhyoya TVC, which relied on a trainer as its volunteer accountant, invariably resulting in unintended audit queries. And under this, Honorable Speaker, we must thank the wisdom of the leadership of this House that saw the need to split the giant PIC into 3 PICs. Most of these institutions were never audited. In fact, some of them were in slumberland. They never thought that they needed to account for these monies. And when we started auditing them, Honorable Speaker, I can tell you some were shaking. In fact, to realize that they're now coming to meet the parliamentary committee, it was a headache. Many had very many excuses as to why they cannot avail themselves. But with the time now, they're getting used to and we're getting proper standards in auditing. The committee recommends that the National Treasury and the Office of the Auditor General conduct annual sensitization and capacity building for all accounting officers and finance staff in state corporations on their responsibilities during audit cycle and adherence to IPAS. Let submission of supporting documentation. The committee observed that some accounting officers failed to submit supportive documentation to the Auditor General in time during the audit cycle, as required under Section 68 of the PFM Act. This invariably led to the committee discussing matters that should ordinarily not feature in the final report, some as mundane as accounts not balancing. Honorable Speaker, our committee has been firm. The committee that I chair of this House has been firm, and we have, to the extent that accounting officer must provide all the documentation within the accounting cycle, within the audit cycle. Failure to which it comes with penalties. We have surcharged very many officers. We have penalized very many officers. And we can report to this House it is bearing fruit. The committee recommends that accounting officers henceforth comply with Section 68(2)(k) of the PFM Act 2012 by providing supportive documentation on time. The committee in subsequent audits will prescribe punitive measures to those accounting officers who fail to adhere to the requirements. Unsecured stroke untitled land holdings. Honorable Speaker, I think this is an issue that cuts across most institutions. The committee also observed cases where land held by various institutions was not secured and titled accordingly. This led to encroachment in some cases with the potential of eventual forfeiture or loss. The committee took note of the fact that many state corporations had illegal encroachments on their land. For instance, the Kenyatta University has faced a situation where 140 acres of its land has been encroached upon by illegal squatters. Despite a court ruling in favor of the university, these squatters have persisted on the property, even constructing buildings and earning rental incomes from their unlawful parcels of land. Honorable Speaker, this is an unlawful act being perpetuated by thieves, by people who have decided to steal public property. 140 acres of land belonging to Kenyatta University has been stolen. And they are high scrapers. People have built there very serious developers have put very serious buildings. And Honorable Speaker, when we went there, we were equally warned. And for this, we did not even succeed to land. We were warned, these people run, they have goons that they have put on notice by appearing anywhere in a manner that suggests that you want to deal with that land. Honorable Speaker, it is unfair. In current dispensation, we should not be having such. And we implore on the director, on the head of the police service, Inspector General, to move with speed and provide security, because the judiciary has pronounced itself to this matter. This land belongs to Kenyatta University, and Kenyatta University must have this land, Honorable Speaker. We want to move with speed so that, and to shock this House, Honorable Speaker, the names that were being floated, having grabbed these lands, you will be shocked, Honorable Speaker. They are the high and mighty. They are the high and mighty. Honorable Kirima wants to give me information, Honorable Speaker. Would you allow, or I proceed? Okay. Some of them are high and mighty, Honorable Speaker, and at the end of the day, we are going to shame them on this floor. Because this country must continue in the right direction. The committee recommends that the National Land Commission and the relevant ministries immediately ensure that all state corporations secure titles to all their parcels of land. These institutions and the National Treasury must also prioritize fencing off all land holdings to forestall further encroachment. The committee recommends that encroachers face full extent of the law and are evicted and charged in court. The committee further recommends that the Attorney General put together a multi-agency team with a mandate to initiate the process of reclaiming land that has been encroached upon by squatters, like the case of Kenyatta University. Furthermore, the Attorney General should collaborate closely with affected state corporations, universities, and institutions to streamline efforts and provide the necessary legal and logistical support for the successful resolution of land encroachment issues. Failure to adhere to gender, ethnicity, and regional balance. This is, Honorable Speaker, this is another area where government institutions have done very badly. The law proposes that an institution must not employ more than 30% from the dominant community. We have a situation, Honorable Speaker, where institutions are having more than 84% from one community, making it difficult for Kenya to coexist as one community. The committee is very firm regarding public institutions having the face of Kenya in their workforce. Several institutions have skewed ethnicity within their staff complement, especially at the senior management level. This was especially manifested in those agencies domiciled in areas predominantly inhabited by a particular ethnic group. This report highlights concerns about the underrepresentation of certain ethnic groups, unfair employment practices, and potential discrimination in recruitment, promotion, and other employment-related processes. Despite explanations from the accounting officers that lack of diversity was prevalent in the lower cadres, the committee is of the view that the rife unemployment countrywide attracting an ethically diverse pool of applicants for advertised jobs was tenable. We want to commend the committee of this House that deals with the NCIC. The NCIC, they have done a good job, but that is not enough. We want them to follow up on these institutions so that they adhere to the timelines that they have provided, these committees have provided to them, because it's unfair. All Kenyans need to belong. All Kenyans need to feel that they are part and parcel of this country. All Kenyans pay tax, Honorable Speaker. and all Kenyans must feel Kenyans. We are very firm as a committee to ensure that we will implement this. And in the coming reports, Honorable Speaker, you will see us being more punitive, particularly in this area. The committee recommends that all public agencies must comply with the constitutional provision on equity and inclusiveness buttressed by the National Cohesion and Integration Act, number 12 of 2008. The committee also recommends amending the TVET Act 2013 to grant these institutions the authority to engage with the Public Service Commission during hiring process for the 50% allocated to the Board of Governance. Further, the committee recommends that the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, together with the Inspectorate of State Corporations, conduct a biannual examination of ethnic composition in these state-owned enterprises to confirm incremental address of the matter. And Honorable Speaker, lastly, I want to talk about matters of Kenyatta University and Kenyatta University of Teaching and Referral Hospital. Honorable Speaker, Kenyatta University, when they dreamt of starting a medical school, they wanted the students of Kenyatta University to benefit, to be a training school for these students. In the process, Honorable Speaker, they went and with the help of the Treasury and the government, acquired a loan from China, put up a hospital, perhaps one of the biggest hospitals on the Kenyan soil today. In their dream that medical students of Kenyatta University would benefit so that they train serious medical students into the market. Honorable Speaker, the then Vice Chancellor, who did a good job, Professor Olive Mugenda, when she exited and joined now Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, which was conflict of interest in the view of the committee, decided that now the hospital needs to be autonomous. And in the view of the committee and the view of the Health Committee, Departmental Committee on Health, and the view of the Select Committee on Implementation in the 12th Parliament, she did so to create space for herself, perhaps after retirement. Honorable Speaker, that matter proceeded.
What's your point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, the honorable member who is moving this motion is actually misleading the House to the effect that she has mentioned the former chair of KUTRH is a person who actually directed, or as a person who actually gave autonomy to Kenyatta Teaching and Referral Hospital. I happen to have been a member of PIC last term, the 12th Parliament that is mentioned. I also happen to be a member of Health Committee. And actually, I can give the chronology and the genesis and what happened as far as the movement of Kenyatta Teaching and Referral Hospital is concerned, from Kenyatta University now to the autonomy that is as a parastatal. It is actually at the dint of executive order by the former President Uhuru Kenyatta. And therefore, the House should be rightly informed.
You're out of order because this is a committee report. So the committee has already reviewed. I think please sit down so I can explain to you. The committee, the Auditor General has made a report to the committee. Yes. The committee has reviewed it and made its own findings. And the committee have the powers of the High Court. and they are free to make their recommendations. You are not holding brief for her, neither are you her lawyer. If she has a problem with the report of Parliament, then she will instruct her lawyers accordingly and defend herself at the time when she is called to account. But you cannot unanimously, it's not been adopted, but again, you're not, if you wanted to make amendments to it, you should have done it when you were in the committee. You're not a member of the committee. Yes, so at the time it will be debated, then maybe you can raise those issues. But right now he's just moving the report, then it will be seconded, then it will be proposed by the speaker, and then it shall be open for debate. Then at that time you can speak. Yes, but also I don't think it is within your power and mandate as a member of parliament to hold brief for state corporations. How do you oversight people that you're holding brief for? So proceed, Honorable Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Wangwe, as a chair of one of the PICs, will concur with us that the issues we are dealing with are not easy. You can see for yourself, Honorable Speaker, but we decided as a committee that we must work for public good. Honorable Speaker, I want to inform the member that it is a matter that has been interrogated by the Attorney General, by the Auditor General. This is a matter that was before a departmental committee of health in the 12th Parliament. This is a matter that has been dealt by a select committee on implementation of the 12th Parliament, Honorable Speaker. The issue that was important to the committee was the welfare of the student of the Kenyatta University. And Honorable Speaker, we just upheld the resolutions of the two committees of this House. Honorable Speaker, corruption bites, but it bites harder when you are dealing with the higher and the mighty. We decided as a committee that we are going to bail the cat, Honorable Speaker, and that it is incumbent on this House, Honorable Speaker, to ensure that the students of Kenyatta University who dreamt of a hospital, a training facility to make them better doctors, Honorable Speaker, that dream has come to fruition. Further, the committee, Honorable Speaker, my brother is heckling. I have tremendous respect for Honorable Kwenya, but he's making a lot of noise. Further, the committee recommends that the executive arm of the government should make concerted efforts to execute the recommendations put forth by Parliament. For instance, where they encounter obstacles that impede their ability to do so, it is imperative that they effectively communicate the challenges faced in the implementation of these recommendations, providing detailed account of the challenges to Parliament. Kenyatta University students, medical students, should be allowed unrestricted access to the hospital's student wing, as was initially envisaged during the hospital's conception. Additionally, someone somewhere tried to be mischievous. And lastly, the very last, we are encouraging government to live by its part of the bargain by ensuring that capitation money reaches these institutions on time and in full. Honorable Speaker, the situation is not good in these public institutions in any society. To prioritize education and ensure, now that we have a new funding model, let us ensure that heads of these institutions have money as required by law in time, as appropriated by this House, Honorable Speaker, so that these institutions can be run seamless, so that our students are better. Honorable Speaker, having noted the proceedings of the Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education on the examination of the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of state corporations for the financial year 2018, 2019, 2019, 2020, and 2020, 2021, I beg to move and urge the House to adopt this report. And now I request the Honorable Kirima to second this motion.
Honorable Speaker, I do support the motion by the chairman of the PIC.
Raise your mic. Yes.
I do support the motion by the chairman of PIC committee, from which committee I am a member, and the recommendation thereby on given. Madam Speaker, it's only that the recommendations given has been observed by the committee that they be implemented by the implementing committee. The committee on implementation must take the observations seriously, especially when it comes to the matters of whereby the properties of the institutions are being misappropriated, not within or not according to the law. If you look at matters like the land in Kenyatta University, you come to find that the 12.6 acres, which we are saying, Madam Speaker, that they are occupied illegally by the squatters.
I think let the Kamkunji, Honorable Koya, if you can take it away.
Which we are saying
allow
that
the member speak.
Yes. Which we are saying, Madam Speaker, that they have been illegally occupied by the squatters. When the committee tried to visit the said piece of land, it could not assess the same, but it could see it at a distance. The 12.6 acres have been developed heavily with stolen buildings, which to some extent goes to an extent of 5 stolen buildings. Big, magnificent buildings which you cannot refer to ordinary squatters. The same buildings, Madam Speaker, have been associated with big names in this country, up to and including big people in this house. And the moment you mention Kamai Rad in Kenyatta University, it raises the hair of some leaders in this house. Madam Speaker, it's upon the recommendations of this committee that whoever is accountable as an accounting officer of an institution or cooperative body must be responsible of the acts which take place within the institution. For what the committee observed, as it has been stated by the chairman, Madam Speaker, is that corruption is really driving in the government corporations. Corruption whereby buildings, contracts, procurement procedures are being ignored, and even contracts are extended without following the procedure as required by the law. The officers concerned, the accounting officers concerned, have been fined by this committee. But the committee has been rendered to be toothless because the recommendations which they gave has not been implemented by the implementing committee of this house. Hence, it becomes a taxpayers' money being wasted for no reason. Especially when it comes to spending large or colossal amount of money like 600 million on buildings which cannot be seen, on items which cannot be seen at all. And recommendations have been given that the accounting officer, the accounting officers of those institutions must be liable or must compensate as required by the law, that whoever is responsible of the losses of public money must pay the same to the government, so that at least other officers can learn from the one who has been charged for the losses which we incurred. You find that interests have not been cleared. You find that interests have been given without the council's recommendation, without minutes of the council, and institutions are being run annually. You find there is a lot of incompetencies. And like a case of Moi University, incompetence of the officer, accounting officer, led to the collapse of the whole institution, which institution was quite magnificent, an international, a national and international institution. And this is how it is even with Kenyatta University. We have come to find that nepotism has become a mother of incompetence. And that incompetence has ended up being the source of collapsing of our institutions. For whoever has been appointed, those officers, the accounting officers who have been appointed to those institutions, let's say Kenyatta University and those others, whoever has been appointed, he thinks that he is there to root. He doesn't know that he is there to be accountable for all actions which take place in that institutions. So when this committee recommends that the person be charged for the losses which has been incurred during his time, we find that that recommendation is not being implemented. And those are the observations of the committee. Madam Speaker, I call upon this House, especially the implementation committee, to see to it that Kenyatta University recovers the land as per the judgment of the court. Because the moment the judgment of the court is passed, and the auctioneers, court believes and the auctioneers are given chance to implement the court judgment, and they cannot implement because of the goons. What were Mikono, as it is said, who are there protecting the big landowners, purporting to be squatters, yet they are not squatters. How does a squatter manage to put up a 5-story building? How does a squatter manage not to live even in that land, but he is building premises for hire? Where you buy, you find 3 bedroom houses in a 5 building stories. So it's upon this, it's upon the implementation committee to look at it and save our institutions from grabbers. Because this is outright grabbing of the public property. With those few remarks, I second the same motion, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much.
I think next was Honorable Bissau, member for Kiminini. Well, let me propose the question, sorry. Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education on its examination of the reports of the Auditor General on financial statements of state corporations, Central Region, for the financial years 2018-2019, financial year 2019-2020, and financial year 2020-2021, laid on the table of this House on Wednesday, 6 December 2023. Member for Kimilili.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think on the onset, it is good to sort of thank the current parliament, because most of the reports are being looked at from 2018. A work that would have been done by the previous parliament, or previous parliaments, but also in the wisdom of the parliamentary leadership to also try to restructure by coming up with the new PICs, Public Investment Committees of the PAC, which I think is a step in the right direction. But what is critical, Madam Speaker, it is very clear that when we've been carrying out the audits, we've noted that there is a lot of deficiency on the side of the Auditor General's office. So what we need to do as a House also is to empower the Auditor General so that they can also have capacity, now that we've restructured from the parliamentary side, to have the peaks that we'll be looking into these institutions. We need to have a clear timeline with the Auditor's General's office telling us exactly where the deficiencies are, and we try to support them as a House by giving them the support they need. Two, when we look at those reports, what has been quite prominent is the issues on asset management.
No, that's not polite. Yeah, if you have the point of order, I've allowed you almost 3 points of orders today. So she has a right, let me allow her point of order.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I like understanding under that 5, no quorum. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, Sergeant at Arms, just ring the bell for 10 minutes or 5? 10 minutes. Let's ring the bell for 10 minutes. Let us just stop. You're out of order. Chairperson, you're out of order. Just let's wait for the bell. You can help go look for quorum. People who wanted to speak, they can have first priority as soon as the... No, let's wait for the bell, quorum bell. Let's just follow the rules. But the people who are here, we are writing down the names, just in case.